Here's going to be a review for Gladiator 2. I saw the movie on Monday. As I mentioned in my Wicked review, unlike Barbenheimer, I didn't do a Glicked or Wikiator double feature of Gladiator 2 and Wicked, as both movies are 2.5 hours long. So doing a double feature of these two movies would probably put me in the hospital afterwards. I saw Wicked on Thursday and then Gladiator 2 on Monday. In all honesty, for the entirety of its marketing campaign, I didn't give a shit about Gladiator 2. Only because I had never seen the first film. I hadn't watched it until about a week ago, and had I watched it before Gladiator 2 started its promotion, I would have been a lot more excited. 2000's Gladiator was a very impressive film. It was epic, powerful, with some great action and drama to keep you entertained. Gladiator 2 is set 16 years after the first film and sees the rise of a new hero in the gladiator ring to take on a couple of corrupt Roman emperors. Certain reveals elevate the drama and stakes as the revolution begins. Going into Gladiator 2, I didn't know if this was going to be a standalone sequel like Twisters that doesn't rely on you seeing the first film to understand part 2, or if it was going to be a sequel that relies heavily on knowledge of the first film. Because I hadn't seen the first film until recently, I didn't know what tie-ins were what to the first film based on the trailers, although I was pretty sure Russell Crowe's character was dead. After watching Gladiator 2, it is definitely anything but a standalone sequel, as it eventually relies on heavy knowledge of the first film once the personal drama takes center stage. If you haven't seen the first film, well, you're f***ed, so try to watch Gladiator 1 before watching Gladiator 2. Like the first Gladiator, Part 2 is visually impressive. There's a lot of resources that go into making these period piece epics with the sets, props, and costumes, but all of it pays off beautifully in bringing you into the world. Also, like the first film, the action doesn't hold back, as this is an R-rated film. Now, it's not like it's 2 full hours of blood and guts, but there's enough moments where you see like a decapitation of a head or something similar to where you think, ouch. I thought the opening action set piece with the ships was great, immediately showing the brutality of war in any time period. The movie does follow a similar starting path that Part 1 did. A hero of war finds his way in the gladiator games and then has to fight his way up, till eventually the emperor, or in this case emperors, notice him. The major difference with Part 2 is that given that this is a sequel, the tie-ins to the first film begin to further drive the narrative and the drama. I won't spoil the tie-ins because I don't know exactly what was revealed in the trailers. The drama brings out the best in the characters here. It helps that you thoroughly root for the new gladiator protagonist here, played by a guy named Paul Mescal, who I hadn't seen in anything before. But he's great here, and it helps just like Maximus from Part 1. You root for him just because he's a complete badass in the ring in an honorable kind of way. It also helps that you just hate the Roman emperors like you did Joaquin Phoenix's Commodus in Part 1. In Gladiator 2, you have 2 corrupt Roman emperors, a couple of paternal twins played by Joseph Quinn and Fred Hetchinger. These two are just a couple of pompous slimeballs who you just hated, but in the way you should hate a villain, it certainly gives the audience something to root against. They end up doing some very unexpected things with both characters in the second half of the film though. Denzel Washington was also very good here. He plays a civilian elite who takes ownership in the gladiator games. Public statements Denzel made about his character ended up being true, as his character likes to put those lips in some places you wouldn't expect to see Denzel put them. The first half of the film is more focused on the action and the set pieces. There's a great mix of everything, fist-to-fist fights, group fights, war combat, all of which are excellent. The second half of the film is more focused on the drama, as the family drama from the first film begins to take center stage. There are times it gets a little soap opera-ish, but it does have points where it has some worthwhile payoffs, like my favorite scene in the film, which was a great scene between our gladiator protagonist and Pedro Pascal's character. Gladiator 2 ended up being a worthwhile follow-up to the first film. Like a good sequel, it played into the legacy of that film through its drama, and it was impressive in its look and set pieces. I don't always love being in an auditorium for 2.5 hours, but collectively, because I was enjoying myself, time went by at a reasonable pace. I'd give my vote for Gladiator 2 being excellent. I ended up enjoying this film way more than I ever thought I would, but like I said, I think that's mostly because I had never seen the first Gladiator until recently. It also helps that in the same day, I didn't spend 3 hours before in the theater watching Wicked, and then 2.5 hours watching Swords and Sandals afterwards. So that'll do it for this review of Gladiator 2. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.